On this episode of AV Week, AV is IT or IT is AV. Who knows? And some people care. DTEN has a dual platform product coming down the line and a brand new group for women in the industry. All that and more next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
We can't say the future without AI. I mean, there's no way around it. 50% of workers now believe AI is going to improve their experience. When I come into the meeting room, I need a way to incorporate my AI with what's going on in the meeting. It's almost a bring your own AI type of a concept. Most of what we do in our day-to-day is going to change significantly.
Hear the latest AV trends and predictions in this episode of Crestron's Smarter Spaces podcast on your preferred podcast platform.
This is AV Week, episode 596, recorded Friday, January 20th, 2023, AV Drama. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to discuss the news and information we put together this week. First and foremost, I think technically I'm doing closest to me geographically to farthest away. So first and foremost, Kylie Pfile. Kylie is from Avocor. Easy for me to say. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Continuing on Highway 70 is Willie Franklin. Willie is Franklin DJ and Event Services in Ohio Way. So welcome, sir.
Thank you, Tim. Great to be back.
And last but not least, almost to the Atlantic Ocean, Mr. Patrick Whipkey from Edge. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me.
If you're not watching the video, Patrick, of course, has his Eagles shirt, or I guess it's a pullover.
Go Birds.
Go Birds. And I'm still drinking out of my beloved Bears coffee mug. So, whatever. Although Willie and I are both big UGA Bulldogs fans.
Absolutely. National champions.
Yeah, for at least another couple of weeks. So, all right. First story comes to us from our friends over at SCN. A new group has been created to encourage advocacy, representation, and education for women in the AV and IT industries. The group, called Wave It, will focus on education, recruiting, and retaining women. From one of the founding board members, Gina Sansevero from Atlas IAD, quote unquote, our organization is going to focus on filling in the gap, complementing industry resources, and offering tools to create strong and focused initiatives. Other founding members, including Gina, Erica Carroll, Jennifer Goodyear. I always want to say Goodyear when I'm talking about Jennifer, but it's not good. It's Goodyear. Amanda Burley, Brandy Alvarado Miranda, Lainey Materis, Althea Ricketts, Susan Wilty, and Megan Dutta. Corey Schaefer is also serving as the ex officio advisor to the board. Corey, of course, just retired from the industry, but still is, of course, doing incredible work with that. Willie, one of the questions here is how do we support? I mean, we, not to be silly, but we've got three guys and a very talented woman on the podcast here, almost indicative of the industry, right? 25%, roughly between 18 to 20%, depending on the demographic or the report you look at when you look at the industry makeup. So, Willie, from a gentleman's perspective, and we're certainly going to hear from Kylie, how do we support or advocate for women in the AV and the IT industry?
Great question, Tim. The formation of the organization, for me, just provides more proof that we are stronger together. And it begs, I think, a secondary question of what does technology want? Because technology is very much alive. It wants form, it wants function, it wants growth, it wants to serve, it wants to be served. We can't do that in isolation by splitting hairs of gender. We really have to look at the entirety of who we are as creative and talented individuals. So this group is just it's a delight to hear, I'll be honest. And for me, my commitment is to make certain that not only do I continue to listen and advocate, but I take the message forward. so I serve as a strong partner and support of their growth because it ensures my growth as a professional in the AV and technology industry. I could go on and say a ton of things about it, and I'm sure I will before we're done here today. But again, this sense of unity only empowers all of us to do more work. And imagine having your dream supported regardless of your gender. I mean, how fantastic is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Patrick, one of the things that they said in the article, specifically Gina was talking about, is kind of filling in some of the gaps. There are there are a handful of groups in the industry supporting women. So what are some of the gaps that we see that still need to be filled to support and advocate for women in the industry?
It's tough because I think what they're doing is really honorable and it's exciting. So some of the gaps I could see is just more awareness. I feel like the awareness just isn't there fully. And I saw the launch on Rave this week. I was really excited. I was watching closely, and as I'm on, I'm like, how do I sign up? Because I wanted to get involved as soon as I saw this. And I have 3 daughters, so I get excited about things like this that promote women and help them do good things within the industry and within the world. I mean, this is cool to see, just more and more awareness, and I think some education, maybe specifically around women within the industry and how to grow themselves from a leadership perspective and those types of things. I think are all gaps that they could fill easily.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a number of these women. Erica Carroll specifically is an incredible instructor in her own right in what I would call is her day job. Has been for a number of years throughout different companies that she's worked for. So education is absolutely a key component of this group specifically. Kylie, we are ending with you just to kind of give you, not to just to give you the last word on this. How much work is left to do in getting more women in the industry and quite frankly retaining them once they get into the industry?
Yeah, so if I think back to when I started in AV to now, I do see that there's been a change for sure. I mean, even in the last year, I feel like now I've got a group of women that when I go places, I see all the time that I haven't, 8 years ago, I never used to see. So I think that's good. I do feel like we're taking steps forward, but I mean, if you say we're 18 to 20%, 25%, maybe we need another 25 to be, half and half-ish. So we definitely have far to go. I think too, focusing on younger generations, because we need more youth in the industry just to begin with. So it's kind of 2 birds, 1 stone type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next story comes to us from our friends over at AV Magazine. DTEN is bringing a range of multi-platform products to ISE in Barcelona. The company has built their business around Zoom solutions, but recently announced development of a Teams solution products. These new products will use either Android or Windows operating systems. Really quickly, Kylie works for a competitor, so I'm going to kind of ask her a slightly different question. ISE, of course, Integrated Systems Europe, takes place in Barcelona the 31st of January through the 3rd of February. Mr. Whipkey, we'll start with you on this. What does this mean that DTEN is diversifying beyond Zoom and beyond the soft codec that they've built their business on?
I think it shows, how split a lot of the world is, whether it's, are you Teams, are you Zoom? It shows that there's not that one dominant player out there. But some of the products I was looking at that they're releasing, they look pretty cool. That they have a split 55 with a camera right in the middle. I mean, people have been asking for that for a while now. That's always the big question: is where's the camera go? Does it go above? Does it go below? And now they're putting it right in the middle. That's where it needs to be. So that looks pretty cool. They have a couple other things that I'm excited to see when I'm out there in Barcelona. But it's definitely, it shows that they want to grow their market and grow the reach of who they're attracting as customers.
Kylie, from an operating sense standpoint, they have chosen to do 2 different platforms. Avocor has 100% inside Windows. kind of compare and contrast and what's some of the benefits of sticking with one operating system from a support or a performance standpoint?
Yeah, so I mean, I think we're with Windows, a little more secure. Also, we're just kind of a little more open where we don't have stuff built into ours. So you can kind of choose your own adventure is kind of what I say with Avocor. Whereas they're kind of opening themselves up a little bit more than they used to be, being kind of pigeonholed into Zoom. Now they have more options and stuff as well. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes.
Willie, from a user standpoint, Willie, he's always done DJing, but he has recently retired from education, from higher education. So from an end user standpoint, which OS is better, or does it depend on the situation, or does the platform, does the OS even matter when you're talking about the actual performance and what you're trying to get done?
I'm choosing my words carefully.
You're retired. Why?
Let it fly.
Because I'm brand agnostic on this one.
Okay.
And it's because I feel like I have to walk a very thin line, and that thin line is uniquely centered on client services. At the end of the day, an integrating system and providing that user service and user support, my clients were more interested in will it work, how it works, versus what does it work with. Now, and that's not to devalue the work of any corporation, any designers, and any integrators out there. But at the end of the day, the system just has to play well with everything around it. So, when I mentioned earlier about technology being alive and growing and has wants and needs, it wants unity, right? And again, I'm choosing my words carefully because it is obvious some systems play well or play better with others than their counterparts. I'll put it that way. Gosh, Tim, I feel like I'm speaking to my mother-in-law. I'm being very careful in what I say. I want to stay in the family, Tim. I want to stay in the family.
That was supposed to be the easiest question. That wasn't supposed to be the gotcha question, Willie.
That was my gotcha question for the day.
Right. Well, yeah. I didn't mean that.
Okay.
I say this because I mentioned the fact that DTEN has built their business around Zoom. They have. This is not some ginormous secret. I mean, that if you looked at a DTEN product over the last 4 or 5 years, it is 100% been a Zoom only solution. And so as they're evolving and bringing in Teams and obviously a Microsoft environment, just being very interesting to see how they're making some of their technical choices. So, all right, finally, this one, I don't do this very often. Frankly, I don't write much very often, but I did this week. ISE, I mentioned earlier, Integrated Systems Europe is coming down the pipeline. 31st of January is when it starts. They've got a pretty significant IT and AV convergence section of ISE in a number of the halls, specifically Hall 5 and Hall 6. But this is something that we've been talking about for over 20 years. I've referenced this before. I will say this story again. A dear friend of mine, Kevin Iselli, dug out from his multitude of pictures from Infocom years and years ago, and I believe it was Infocom 2001 or 2002. There was a ginormous banner over the hall that said convergence. That was 20 years ago, and we are still talking about this, right? So I wrote a piece kind of promoting the IT AV part of ISE, and in it I said, look, AV is IT, right? It is. This is silly. AV is IT, and in a tweet, and I bring this up because I have a lot of respect for Joe Cornwall. He responds by saying, quote unquote, IT is just a transport, nothing more. Now, Joe Cornwall kind of hits back at you. You got to take a second and reconsider your thought process. But my points are very simple, and I'm going to ask each of you guys in turn. Transport certainly is IT, 100%, right? We transport on RJ45s on the network. Communication protocols Now, I am a failed control systems programmer, 100%. And I used to use ASCII, and I used to use a bunch of other different protocols. Well, the protocols that we use now are IT protocols, right? It's what we use. And last but not least, the budget comes from IT. There are no more AV groups. There are no more AV departments. Your checks, the people that hire AVISPL, CTI, anybody, those are IT departments that come from the IT budget. Yes, there's an art to AV, 100%, and there always will be. But just like telephony is IT, and 30 years ago it wasn't, AV is IT. So, Kylie, you'll get the first crack at me from this. Is IT AV, or is AV IT, or neither, or where are we at with this?
It's funny because I was just last week chatting with our technical sales engineer because we had a demo with a potentially new integrator for us, and I'm looking at their website and it was so IT. I'm like, I'm not even sure if this is an end user for us or if this is an integrator for us because of that. And I said, it's really getting muddy. And we get on the call, have a whole AV division now, and they're updating their website to reflect both sides of it. So it's definitely something where there is a merging, where I think people are realizing they need both. And even integrators who don't, I've noticed we have some that will say, you know, I'm an IT integrator, but we're contracted on this integrator to be our AV arm for this project, and so we're working this together. So yeah, I definitely think it's looped together for sure.
All right. Willie, from an end user standpoint, does this argument matter, right? Does it matter to the folks on the front line making this happen?
For me, it still matters. I will be the first to admit, with my legacy brain, AV is not IT, IT is not AV. That's what my head tells me,
Yep.
or my heart. My head tells me the two are inseparable. And that's a reality that came to the forefront when my AV unit moved across campus to join the IT unit.
Sorry, what unit was that, Willie?
Our AV unit.
What budget was that, Willie?
Migrated across, and the academic dean joined budgets, right? But the Internet of Everything means that whatever we're doing these days, there's some degree of connectivity and networking that's undeniable. You know, when we walk into an auditorium, set a microphone on the stand, and that keynote comes out, it is not so apparent, really, that we have solid state amplifiers that are running, pushing content out through those loudspeakers, and we're taking in all of that dialogue. What is apparent to us working in this new environment is that whole space is being monitored, it's being tweaked, it's being finessed through a network of technology that are really driven by IP addresses as opposed to knob settings, as opposed to a VU meter, even showing, as opposed to an EQ adjustment to make it sound a little bit sweeter. All of that is internal. All of that is either PC-based, network-based, based on an Apple or iOS system. It's a hard reality for those of us who remember the old film strip projectors, the old cassette recorders, the old opaque projectors. But I certainly accept this new reality, and I definitely support it, and the growth, the opportunities that it gives us all is just immeasurable. So while I still will carry my cardboard sign, AV is not IT, IT is not AV, I know on the back of that sign, yeah, I'm just looking for protocols to agree.
I thought you were going to bring your sign with you for this.
I should have printed that out and just walked past them.
Patrick, Willie mentioned something there, and he's right. The heart says one thing and the head says another. Why are we still talking about this? Why does the AV community still care so much about keeping AV and IT separate?
Well, you brought up a good point when you're talking about the Infocom banner from 20 years ago. Everything is still changing. Technology is still changing. So as it continues to change, there's still going to be that AV versus IT, because IT is changing as well. Everything continues to change. So you're still going to have that, are we AV, are we IT? Talking about Willie and the auditorium, there was somebody there that programmed that DSP to make that auditorium sound good. You're still going to need those folks to do that. So there is still going to be AV, there's still going to be IT, and there's still going to be that middle ground of both. But I think they both have their own individual lanes as much as they have, a combined lane. There's just no getting around it. An audio guy might not be able to do some IP stuff, and an IT guy might not be able to tweak some audio and understand PAGNAG and some of those legacy audio things. It's just, people have different skill sets, and you're going to need both to make that entire system work and function the way it should.
So what I'm hearing you, and I'm just going to ask this in general, and none of y'all need to respond, or all of y'all can respond. It's entirely up to you. What I'm hearing you say, Patrick, is we are never going to get beyond. Okay. Never going to get beyond this.
Nope, it's going to continue.
That's awesome.
That's what keeps us employed.
That's right.
Is it? Okay.
You gotta have a little drama, right? Keeps things interesting.
Okay, I'll give you that. A little drama, a little tension, right? For yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Willie Franklin, recently retired, but still not slowing down in any way, shape, or form. From Franklin DJ Event and Services. Thank you. How people connect with you, if they are so inclined?
A couple of ways. You can definitely find me on LinkedIn, Willie Franklin. You can also reach out to me via email at franklindjservices@gmail.com. And because I have a love for my former employer, Otterbein University, my email is still active, wfranklin@otterbein.edu, and that's OTTERBEIN.edu.
All right, very good. Mr. Whipkey, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you, or I almost said The Edge. The Edge is a guitarist.
Yeah, I was trying to get him to do a cameo for us when we launched.
Totally should.
He was not available, so unfortunately. But yeah,
you should fly him to ISE.
We might be able to find him there. Maybe he'd be walking around.
Just saying.
But like Willie, best place to find me is on LinkedIn. If I'm not LinkedIn with you already, feel free to link in with me. I love making connections and meeting new people, and looking forward to seeing you out at Barcelona. All right,
very good. Kylie, thank you, ma'am, so much. How do people connect with you or Avocor?
Yeah, so like these guys, LinkedIn. Let's be LinkedIn buddies. I am Kylie Pfile there, and then my email address is just kylie.pfile@avocor.com.
All right, very good. For Tim Albright, do not follow me on the Twitters. At this point, I'm either still celebrating the UGA victory or crying over my coffee about the Bears. Still, because it's still football season. For some people, it's not for me. It is for Patrick.
Yes,
it's
sir. Go Birds.
Although by the time you listen to this, I do think that the Eagles. I'm going to knock on wood. I do think the Eagles are going to win this weekend. I don't know that they're going to make it to the Super Bowl, and I personally do not think that there's an NFC team that is going to beat an AFC team. I think the AFC, regardless of who it is going to win the Super Bowl. That's just me.
Wow.
So
some big deep thoughts there.
Nah, I'm a Bears fan. What do I know, dude? All right.
I'm a Browns fan.
There you go. See, Willie and I are both completely. Yeah, we're toast. Don't follow me on the Twitters, but go by the website, AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others. Mitchell just put the final touches, and all the I's are dotted and T's and crossed for EdTech. So that has come out here recently. We can check out that, State of Control, and a bunch of others. Also, we have a newly revamped Women in AV podcast coming out, so you can check that out as well. We talked about ISE for a second here, so a couple different things. We are doing a tweet up again at Integrated Systems Europe. We are doing it on the 31st of January from 2 to 4 p.m. local time, obviously. It is in the Influencers Lounge. You can go by our website and register for that. Let us know you're coming so we can buy enough food and drinks for that. Also, the final week of the AVNation Reader's Choice Awards is going on. So it is the finals. Get on there and let us know what the best of the best was for 2022. So all that and more at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.